Hey everyone, here's a quick overview of my new inventory system for Unreal Engine 5. It is super easy to use, it's optimized for multiplayer, and it's fully built-in blueprint with clean code and detailed comments so that you can easily integrate it into your own projects. You can try this demo for free or get access to the full inventory system through the link in the description. I'll also include a link to my Discord in case you have any questions or need help setting it up. Alright, let's get started. To open the inventory, you can press tab. As you can see, we have a very clean and simple inventory layout, and this is just for the demo. You can very easily customize it and lay it out however you want. On the left side, we have the main inventory grid. This is where you can store any type of item that you want, and you can set it to have as many or as little empty slots depending on what you need. Right here on the equipment side, you can set up slots for items that can be equipped to the player, anything from weapons or cosmetics like hats, armor, or whatever you can think of. You can even set these slots to be displayed at the bottom hotbar in the main HUD, so that you can very easily access them. And I will show you this in a minute. First, I want to mention that this inventory system comes with a basic interaction system. So if I walk up to this cube, you can see that I can set a name for it. I can also press E for inventory and hold E for options. And you can customize these options however you want. If I hold E, I can see a menu that pops up with the actions that I have available. Right now the only one is inventory, but you can also set up your own. So if I click it, I am able to see the content for this cube. And as you can see on the right side window, we do have some items. If you hover over any of the items, you could see the item's name and description. If it's a stackable item, you could see how many you have in the top left side, and at the bottom side you could see the weight. You can also see the total weight of your inventory at the bottom right here. Right now we have 0, but if we go ahead and drag and drop this item into our inventory, you could see the weight updating. I can also split items by holding shift and dragging. And I can also just do it again and stack it on top. Now, one thing that makes this inventory very intuitive and fast to use is that it actually supports shortcut keys. So I listed a few over here on the right side so you can try out. If I go ahead and press T, you can very quickly transfer the item, and this makes it really fast to move items around, as you can see. Now, I created a few sample items that you can use as templates to implement your own items. For example, this item you see here is a consumable item. Whenever you right click it, you can see we have the option to consume it. And if you pay attention to the top left of the screen, you're going to notice the list of stats that you get from consuming this item. In this case, health and stamina, which then you can use to implement your own logic, like actually giving the character health or whatever you want. Another way we can consume this item is by equipping it to the character. So if we drag it onto the equipment slot, you could see it only equips one, but if we close the inventory and take a look at the hotbar at the bottom, it actually shows the total amount, so you can just consume it from there. So now if I press 3, you could see it taken from the total amount. And if you open your inventory again, you'll see that it actually stays equipped and takes from your inventory grid. That way you don't have to keep constantly equipping it. Even if I consume with this, you could see that it takes from the inventory. And by the way, another way you can equip the item is by right clicking on it and equipping it, or by using one of the shortcuts, which is E in my case. Alright, so now I'm going to show you the other two item types. If I go ahead and open this chest over here, you'll notice that we have two different item types. One of them is a melee weapon and the other one is a helmet, which is a cosmetic item. So now I'm going to go ahead and equip the weapon. And just to show an example, the item doesn't even need to be in your inventory for you to be able to equip it with the shortcut keys. You could just press E and it'll look for the equipment slot that it goes to. So now if I close the inventory, you can see that the items are actually attached to the character. The blade that you see in the back is actually a blueprint actor, so you can implement your own logic however you want. And the helmet is a skeletal mesh that's rigged to the character. And this is all replicated so everybody could see this. If I open the inventory and I unequip the items, you could see that the inventory also handles detaching them. And then if I equip them again, you can see them back on the character. Now if I press 1, I can select the sword, and as you can see it attaches it automatically to the character hand, and then if I press X, you can deselect the sword and it returns to the character's back. Now with the sword selected, if I left click, I can actually trigger the blueprint, as you can see on the top left. So you could very easily trigger your own logic and play your own animations for the sword or any weapon that you want. Also, just to show an example, if you notice at the bottom where the item is displayed, I implemented a durability bar. So whenever I click, it actually goes down. And then if you open the inventory, you can actually also see it there. So now if I close the inventory and then I just click until I run out of durability, you could see that the item turns red to represent the item being broken. And now if I try to equip it again by pressing 1, it actually won't let me. You can still move the item around and everything, you just can't hold it in your hand while it's broken. And if I wanted to get rid of the item, I can very easily drop it by right clicking the item and dropping, or I can even use one of the shortcut keys, which in my case is R. So I'm going to go ahead and just hover over it and press R, or I can actually just drag it outside of the inventory like this. And if I want it, I can actually split an item and I could just drop half of it like that. Whenever you drop an item, a container will spawn, which will contain all the dropped items that you dropped in the area. And to pick them up, you just open the container. You can transfer all the items into your inventory, and whenever you transfer them all, the container will just simply despawn. One last thing I want to show you is how easily it is to create items. So this inventory uses data assets. So if we go to the inventory system, blueprints, data, then primary data asset, you can see that we have our main data asset item blueprint. So if we open it up, you can see that over here on the variables, we have all the information we need to make a basic item. And if you wanted to extend the functionality of this item, you could very easily add your own. But also the cool thing about having a data asset blueprint is that you can make child blueprints. So for example, if we open up the equipable item, on the right side, you can see that we have all the information for the basic item. And then on top of it, we can add all the information we need for an equipable item, like the actor class that you're going to use to spawn the weapon and the socket names to attach it to the character. Alright, so for now, I'm just going to show you how to make a basic item. So if you go to the demo folder, then look for sample items, data assets. This is where you're going to see the items that I created for the demo. So to create one, you can just right click, then look for miscellaneous data asset, and then look for PSF item. So this is gonna be your item. Now we can name it. I'm just gonna name it DA cube, then open it up, and then this information is what the inventory system is gonna use to represent your item. So now we can give it whatever name we want. I'm just gonna call it cube. Then item description, I'm just gonna say sample item. And then right here, you can pick a 2D texture to use as your item icon. But this inventory actually has a very cool feature where you can actually render items from a static mesh. So if you open up this section, this is all the information that we need to render the item. So if you wanted to, you could fill out the information here. However, you're not going to be able to see the item as you're filling it out. So for this inventory, I created a tool that you can use to very easily preview the item icon, and then that will fill out the information for you automatically. So to use this tool, we can go to Bahastorm inventory, then icon render, and then right here you'll see this utility widget which you can open on the editor. So you can right click it and select run. And on the left side, you're gonna have the information needed to render the item, and on the right side you could see a preview of the item. Now to get started, we just have to select our item data asset, in this case our cube. Then we select this box to use the icon render instead of the 2D texture. And finally, we can select the static mesh that we want to render. So I'm going to use this blue cube that comes with Unreal. And then to see the preview, all you have to do is set up the fob. I'm going to set it to 50, and then I'll turn up the light intensity. And as you can see on the right side, now we can see the cube, which is exactly how your item icon is going to look when it's in the inventory. So now if I click apply changes, you're going to see that the information on this window is going to be filled out in the data asset for the item. So real quick, I'm just going to go ahead and fix it up. I'm just going to rotate it a little bit, set the fob, and then I'm just going to center it. Now I can just apply the changes and close it up. Now all I have to do is finish the data asset. So for max stack, this is for items that are stackable. So I'm just going to set it to 5. The weight, I'm going to leave it as 2. This item won't need durability, so I'm just going to leave it as 0, which will automatically hide the durability bar. And then for equipment slot type, this is for items that can be equipped. But since this is just a basic item, I'm just going to leave it as none. Now to see the item, all we have to do is add it to an inventory. So I'm just gonna go into this cube's inventory component, and then on grid items, I'm gonna select one of the empty slots right here and select our cube. Then for quantity, I'm just gonna leave it as 5. This item doesn't need durability or ammo, so I'll just leave it as is. And that's it. Now if we hit play, we can come to this cube container and take a look at our item. As you can see, there's the icon that we created and the amount that we set it to. Now we can transfer it, move it around, drop it, or treat it as any other item. And that's it, guys. Like I said, if you need any help setting up the inventory or have any questions, just hop on the Discord and I'll be happy to help.